Before electricity, before walls, before locks, night was not a comfort. Night was a predator. For hundreds of thousands of years, when the sun disappeared, ancient humans entered a world that wanted to kill them. We've forgotten what real darkness feels like. Not a dim room, not a power outage, but absolute, total, crushing black. On a moonless night in the African savannah, you cannot see your own hand in front of your face. That was every night. And in that darkness, things moved, things breathed, things watched, and ancient humans knew it. This is the story of night, as our ancestors actually lived it, and it will change how you see the dark forever. Let's go back 200,000 years ago, East Africa. The sun is setting over the Rift Valley. A group of roughly 20 humans, men, women, children, begin moving faster. There's urgency in their steps. They know what's coming. They're heading toward a rock outcropping they've used before. Not a cave exactly, more like a shallow overhang, barely enough shelter. The fire is everything. One member of the group has been carrying an ember all day in a clay pot because relighting fire is not guaranteed. If the fire dies tonight, people may die tonight. That's not exaggeration. That is biological reality. Fire was the single most transformative technology in human history. Not the wheel, not the internet, fire. And nowhere was that more true than after dark. Here's something most people don't know. Ancient humans likely slept in two separate phases, not one long stretch like we do today. Historians and sleep researchers call it segmented sleep or biphasic sleep. You slept, then woke, then slept again. That middle waking period, sometimes an hour or two, was not insomnia. It was normal, expected, even useful. People would tend the fire, check on children, listen to the darkness, and sometimes talk in quiet murmurs with whoever else was awake. Some researchers believe this is when ancient humans did their deepest thinking, staring into flame, processing the day, planning tomorrow. There's something almost meditative about it. A population of humans, half asleep, firelit, listening to a world they couldn't see. But let's talk about what they were actually listening for, because the African night is not silent. It is overwhelmingly, terrifyingly loud. Insects, frogs, wind through grass, the distant bark of a hyena, and then silence. Sudden silence is the worst sound of all. When the insects stop, something large is moving nearby. Ancient humans learned to read silence the way we read words. The leopard is the predator that haunts human evolution most deeply, not the lion, the leopard. And here's why. Lions hunt in open ground. You can see them coming. Leopards hunt in trees, in shadows, in absolute silence. They drop from above. Fossil records show early hominid skulls with leopard fang puncture marks. We were prey, specifically leopard prey, for millions of years. That's why humans today still feel a primal terror at something watching from darkness. That fear was earned. That fear kept bloodlines alive. The group huddles tighter as full darkness falls. The fire creates a rough circle of light, maybe 10 feet in diameter. Beyond that, nothing. The oldest member of the group sits nearest the fire, not out of honor, but out of practicality. The elderly feel cold first. Cold kills. Children sleep pressed between adults. Body heat is survival technology. Two people sharing warmth is measurably safer than sleeping alone. Someone is always awake, not assigned necessarily, but naturally. Fear and biology conspire to keep at least one set of eyes open at all times. Studies of modern hunter-gatherer groups, the Hadza in Tanzania, the Sand People of the Kalahari, confirm this pattern. It's ancient and universal. Humans are the only primates that sleep on the ground in large, coordinated groups around a central fire. That behavior shaped our brains, our trust, and our society. Now think about sound. In the absence of light, hearing becomes everything. Ancient humans had significantly sharper environmental awareness than modern people, not because their ears were different, but because they paid attention in a way we simply don't anymore. Every sound had a meaning. The crack of a branch 30 meters away. Was that the wind? A deer? Something hunting? Your life could depend on reading that correctly. This is why researchers believe ancient humans developed rich vocal and musical traditions specifically at night, around fires, in the dark. Singing and rhythmic sound served multiple purposes. It masked the sounds of the group, crying children, movement, coughing. It also asserted presence. Predators, like most animals, prefer to avoid noisy prey. A group making sound is a group that knows it's being watched. That changes the calculation for a hunting cat. Let's talk about what the sky looked like. Before light pollution, the night sky was not background noise. It was overwhelming. The Milky Way was so bright, so dense, it cast a faint shadow on the ground. Stars were not dots. They were a river of fire overhead. Ancient humans navigated by stars, timed planting seasons by stars, and built entire mythologies around stars because the stars were the only reliable clock in the sky. The moon, too, was transformative. A full moon night was almost as useful as daylight for a group that needed to move or forage. But a new moon, absolute terror. The darkest nights of the month were when predators had the greatest advantage. Ancient humans knew the lunar calendar by necessity. Some anthropologists argue that the first human calendars weren't about crops or seasons. They were about tracking, when the darkness would be deepest and most dangerous. Now here's something rarely discussed: the psychological weight of the ancient night. It wasn't just physical danger, it was mental. Imagine sitting in near darkness, surrounded by sounds you can't fully interpret, knowing that something out there may already be watching you every night for your entire life. Modern anxiety disorders, the hypervigilance, the inability to stop scanning for threats, may be ancient survival mechanisms running in a world they weren't built for. We were designed by evolution to be afraid of the dark. That fear was not irrational, it was adaptive, and it's still running in your nervous system right now. Ancient storytelling, passed down around nighttime fires, was full of creatures that came from darkness, monsters, spirits, shadows that moved on their own. These weren't just stories, they were cognitive training, teaching children, through fear, to stay near the fire, stay with the group, and never wander into the dark alone. Let's go deeper into what the fire actually meant, psychologically, socially, spiritually. Neurologically, firelight is uniquely calming. The flickering, irregular pattern of flame is processed differently by the brain than steady artificial light. Studies show that watching fire lowers blood pressure, induces a mild trance-like state, and increases social bonding and openness. Ancient humans sitting around a fire were, in a very real sense, in an altered state of consciousness, relaxed, bonded, open to story and ritual. This is almost certainly where religion began, not in temples, not in texts, but in the vulnerable, fire-lit hours between sunset and the first sleep. The fire became sacred because it was the line between life and death. To let it die was almost unthinkable. Someone always fed it. It was a living thing, and what did they eat? Nighttime hunger was real. Foraging after dark was dangerous, but not impossible. Cached food, dried meat, roots, nuts stored near camp was the night's pantry. Eating by firelight was one of humanity's earliest communal rituals, sharing food at night, in the warmth of fire, surrounded by the people you'd survive or die with. This is the foundation of every dinner table in history. Anthropologists call this the hearth, the center of early human social life, and it only existed at night. The day was for survival. The night was for being human. Children in ancient groups had a completely different relationship with the night than children today. They weren't sent to separate rooms. They weren't alone. They slept in a pile of warmth and breath and heartbeats, surrounded by everyone they knew. The concept of a child sleeping alone in a dark room is, evolutionarily speaking, deeply strange. Our species spent 99% of its existence doing the opposite, and yet children today fear the dark instinctively because evolution still sends the signal. Stay close. Don't be alone. Find the light. Find the group. When your child is afraid of the dark, they're not being irrational. They're running 200,000-year-old survival code. Honor that. It served us well. Around midnight, the deepest, coldest part of the ancient night, things got quieter. Even the predators rested. There was a brief window, maybe 2 hours, when the tension eased slightly. The second sleep began, deeper, more restorative. The brain, during this second sleep, processed the emotional experiences of the day differently. REM sleep in 2 phases produces unusual, vivid, memorable dreams. Dreams were not meaningless noise to ancient humans. They were communications from ancestors, from the world, from something beyond the fire's reach. Dream interpretation was one of the earliest forms of human intellectual activity. Long before art, long before language had words for abstract concepts, every shaman, every oracle, every prophet in human history traces their lineage back to someone sitting up in the firelit dark saying, "I saw something in the night." Then, gradually, the sky begins to change. Not light yet, not even close, but a subtle shift in the black, a deep, bruised purple on the eastern horizon. The birds begin first, a single call, then another. then a cascade of sound that builds like applause in an empty stadium. The ancient group stirs, eyes open. The fire is down to coals, carefully banked the night before to survive until morning. It did. They did. Another night survived is not a small thing. It is everything. It is the entire point. It is the reason you exist at all. Every human alive today is descended from people who made it through the night. Thousands of nights, hundreds of thousands of them, in darkness, together. We've built a world of streetlights and screens and locked doors. We've banished the ancient night almost completely, and in doing so, we've lost something. We've lost the ritual of the fire, the forced proximity of shared darkness, the strange intimacy of being afraid together and surviving it. Modern sleep disorders, anxiety, disconnection, loneliness. Some researchers quietly wonder if these aren't just diseases of the modern world, but symptoms of a species removed from its natural night. We were built for darkness, not to be destroyed by it, but to face it together, with fire, with story, with each other. The next time you lie awake at 3 a.m. unable to sleep staring at the ceiling, you're not broken, you're ancient. You're exactly what your ancestors were. You're a human in the dark, listening, waiting for the light. Just like every human who ever lived before you, they made it, and so will you.